Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. If you're new to us, Art and Talk is an online interviewing platform for artists to share their art, their creativity, and their passion. We embrace all the arts, the traditional arts, and the spiritual arts to bring you diverse and quality interviews to watch and to be inspired by. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to watch our artist videos. You can stay connected with Art and Talk on social media, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, and also on Twitter. We appreciate your support. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk, and today we have a guest writer, and we're going to hear some excerpts from her writing and dive into her journey of writing and find out what it's all about. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Lisa Burke. Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Leslie Sue, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, we're so glad that you're here. All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey with writing. How did it start? Tell us all about the whole premise of this.
All right. So really it started when I was a little girl, when I was 15, say. I got my first journal and I never put it down. I've been journaling since I was 15 about a topic that is a little odd, I would think, for a 15-year-old to write about, and it's spiritual awakening, the battle of light and dark. So that's generally what I was writing about at 15, not what I did in school, but society says, and people and our gifts. So
Mhm. So at 15, you started to write about spiritual awakening. That is a profound topic to write about at such a young age. Before we get into that, I'm just kind of curious, Lisa, how did you get the journal? Was that something that you went and got yourself? Was it a gift?
to be completely honest with you, Leslie Sue, I don't remember. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember where the journal came from. I just remember it feeling like it was my secret keeper. Like all the thoughts, I think a lot. I'm a thinker. That's what I say. I'm a thinker, not a writer. My words end up on paper for a lack of a better place
Mm-hmm.
because they just are constant in my brain. And it was awesome because I could now get them to somewhere and get them out of there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right. So it sounds also kind of from the get-go, Lisa, that being a thinker, having all these different thoughts kicking around, that very early on you found an outlet to express these thoughts and you kind of like took to your journal almost like a good, a best friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's been that since. And
Wow.
my worst enemy too, and my worst enemy.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Tell us about spiritual awakening at 15. Give us a little foundation here.
actually, I didn't have what I would call my spiritual awakening until my 30th birthday. Beforehand, even the word spirit made me roll my eyes. However, I was writing about spiritual warfare without using that word, so to say. Um, when I had what I would call my dark night of the soul at 30, everything changed. That's when I had my awakening. And then reading back on my journals and my rants, I realized that was always there. I just kind of shoved it down and ignored it to be mundane, to fit in with everyone else.
Mhm. Mhm. Before we get into that experience at 30, you go by, in terms of your writing, ardent lyricism. Can you tell us about the origins of that, how that name came about?
Absolutely. In writing, obviously you come across words, and the beauty for me, lyrics to me, the words that someone says or are beautiful in themselves because that's unique to each individual. But ardent lyricism to me is like passionate words, passionate writing. Um, and that's what it is. Everything that I write about comes from my soul.
Mhm.
So I feel like ardent lyricism just sums it all up.
Mhm. So it's like this is your passionate soul coming out.
Yeah, this is to put it in the physical, to manifest my soul and physical me throughout. I'm 41 now, and it's helped me throughout my life. Even just reading back over my journals, it's amazing to me that even at 41, I go through some of the stuff I went through at 16, but in different situations. I can still learn from my 16-year-old self today, which is unreal.
Mhm. That's great. So you're like kind of pull onto all these parts that are you, but just were expressed at like, different chronological ages, so to speak.
Source energy, which I feel like it fuels us all. In my opinion, it's it's there's no such thing as time and space. So when I look back over my journals, sometimes I believe that those are messages meant for me today, to find today from my past self. And it's been really helpful
Mhm.
looking at it that way.
Yeah, that's a beautiful connection, Lisa, and a great, openness of looking at it from that insight. If we can touch upon before we hear some of your writings, tell us about what happened at 30 with the dark night of the soul that you've been speaking about, if you would please.
So the Dark Night of the Soul, my birthday, June 5th, every year since I was young had been a major negative thing, I guess. I looked at it as a negative thing. It rained every year. It was negative energy. I felt sad. And then on my 30th birthday, I had what I consider a waking up, but at the time, I thought it was a nervous breakdown. Um, a friend had asked me, "Hey, you want to run to the store and get some coffee?" And I got in my car, and I had two children that lived with me, single mother at the time, and I was driving down a very heavily populated road, and I couldn't get my foot off the gas pedal. I had my children to live for, and I kept saying, "Lisa, just take your foot off the gas pedal," and I just couldn't. So it was one of the darkest days of my life, but I also, now looking back, can see that it was the cloud silver lining. It's the day that everything changed for me, or started to change for me.
Hmm. Hmm. So that was like from that point forward, things changed.
So, you know, in all honesty, maybe it wasn't the things that changed, but the way that I looked at things definitely changed. So instead of saying, everything happens for a reason, I turned it around and said, maybe not, but you can definitely find a reason in everything that happens. And I realized at that point that I was co creating my own misery, and there was something that I could do about it by changing my attitude about it.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah. So it sounds, Lisa, like through this experience that you really developed a strong sense of accountability where you kind of like took the reins of your life. Would that be correct in your assessment?
absolutely. Before this point, before the Dark Night of the Soul, I would point out, I wanted to blame everyone else. And after that, I started taking my own medicine and realizing, wait a minute, you have a lot to do with how things are turning out, your actions or reactions, or even those that I allow around my energy. That's a choice. So I realized there was so much more I do than what I was doing.
Hmm. Yes.
But also, I mean, the sky was calling my name in a way it never had. The birds singing were more beautiful to me than it had ever sounded. Everything, it was like I went from analog to Blu-ray overnight, and everything was crystal clear. It was beautiful. I saw the beauty in life again.
Right. Yes. Let's go ahead and dive in, Lisa, into one of your writings that you'd like to share with us.
Awesome. All right. So what I feel like is the best place to start would be, I call it a parable of the forgotten gifts. Um, all right. On the day of creation, a gift was given to me. It could not be touched, nor could it be seen. I tucked it away as life carried on. Walking in the world made it so easy to forget where my gift belongs. As times got heavy and darkness filled the space, I learned from most before me how to carelessly fill my. Suddenly it happened. My gift began to shine. At first, I tried to hide it in fear that it was only in my mind. When I started to see it, I noticed a new truth. I'm not the only one. A gift was also given to you.
That was beautiful, Lisa.
Thank you.
Share with us about what this is about.
So for me, I always felt like, even as a child, that there was something different and unique about me, which made me feel like I wasn't like everybody else, which growing up in the world today, at least where I was, you wanted to fit in with the crowd. You didn't want to stand out. So I tried to hide my uniqueness, those things that made me me, I tried to hide. And in fear, like I said, that someone wouldn't like me due to that, or that I would stand out. And then I realized that those unique things about me, you have about you, that's what makes us beautifully us. The unique individual, I think, is, it's our purpose built in. Those qualities in me that are unique are meant to be there, and to face and embrace them rather than hide from them. To let, so the writing project that I work on, it's been years and years in the making. It's called Soul Shine 605. And the message is that we all have a light within us. It's just a matter of allowing it to shine and finding our own light and encouraging others to find theirs as well, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what it is. We all have gifts, we all have purpose.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Do you feel, Lisa, that that's your overall message, is that you have had the courage and the stamina to bring forth your gifts, because you were saying that you wanted to hide them, it made you feel a little bit different, you wanted to fit in, so you kind of had to work through all this, and so then you did, and then you also kind of broaden that perspective in a way to say that it's a gift and everybody has a gift, and that when we share our gifts, we help to recognize that in each other. So is that part of your overlying message through your writing? Are there other areas? Tell us about your overall message, if you would.
My overall message would be just that, we live in a dark world, and there's a lot that we can focus on that's negative. And if we focus on the negative, we're going to get more of that. My message is, we are capable of changing things by being us, the unique individual, and following that inner voice, that one that says, you know, reach out to a stranger, smile. My gifts, I believe, are empathy and compassion, and it's things like that. They're not things that I can hand to people. No, I don't have financial wealth. I don't have gifts of riches to give to somebody, but I think our characteristics, those things that make us us and that we all have within us. I mean, yeah, I think that that's the big message, is reminding people we all have the light within us. And in order to make this world a better place, especially now with everything that we've been going through for the last year and a half, 2 years, social desensitizing, and I understand the need for it, but we're not in each other's energy fields. We're not smiling at a stranger. We're not holding the door and hugging like we used to. And I'm a hugger, you know. I think that's what it's about. It's uplifting others, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm. Yeah, that is such a beautiful message. Before we get into more of your writings, because once you found this gift and then you were kind of committed to express it and share it out, and you felt comfortable with it, Tell us a little bit about how you would advise someone who maybe was kind of in the same situation. Maybe they're a writer, or maybe not. You know, can overlay into a lot of different situations. But developing that courage to honor your inner voice, you know, despite everything, is huge. That is so, you know, is so noble, and it has such valor to it. So that being part of your message, how would you advise someone else to be able to stand in their light and express their gifts, even if it makes them feel uncomfortable or makes them feel different ways?
Yeah, I would tell you right now, I'm a little uncomfortable. I've never done a Zoom meeting. I've never spoken freely about my writing. Putting it out there can be a little nervous, but to get somewhere you've never been, you got to do something you've never done. I believe I've heard that said. And sometimes you just have to push yourself and knock the self-doubt away. And it doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that once you do it once you're all, oh, I got that taken care of, now it's going to be a cakewalk. You may have to face that battle every time you do it, but like I said, to get somewhere you've never been, you got to do something you've never done. And I'm pushing myself today more every day, and it's a constant battle, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I have to tell you that I really applaud your efforts, because I know you had expressed a little bit of nervousness with coming on, but yet you did confront it. You know, we've had other potential guests who wanted to come on, but then they felt a little camera shy and whatnot, which is okay. You know, we have to honor that. But I think it's good when we see others who kind of like step up to the plate for themselves, which of course has like a ripple effect. So, you know, we all benefit. So I definitely applaud you. I'm interested though,
Yeah.
also just to touch upon now, through this awareness and courage to live your true voice and to express it, and to feel comfortable with it. And as you said, it's a process. Now, that discovery, self-discovery, sense of like empowerment, that came through your writing. I'm trying to find out how much of that was kind of propelled, kind of gave you the wings, you know, to come forth, was through your writing.
um, you know, I'd say the realizations came through my writing. But oftentimes I fear sharing my writings because they seem more like rants to me. And I feel like it's gonna be hard for people to make sense of what this social media has helped me, that double-edged sword that it is, because I'm reaching out to like-minded people all over the world and realizing, wow, there are people that understand me. There are, and I think that really, seeing the relativity, seeing that what my writing, there are people that relate to it. I think that's more so helped me to have the courage to stand up and say, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in feeling alone, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, I think those are such excellent points, Lisa. It's almost like if you step out in faith, or you step out in a little bit of trust, then it's almost like you're going to attract, and, you know, and again, it's a process, but you're going to attract your tribe. And as you said, you know, they're kind of feeding you back with encouragement, because you're both kind of resonating in that same space, and you're both really, you know, helping each other, because you had the courage to, you know, go ahead and express these parts of you, and you know, be true to your authentic voice.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing is, in the community, the people that I've connected with through social medias and otherwise, they feel like a family. They really do. And we have the same mission. The same goal is to uplift and encourage. And if we, and you know, we have the responsibility to wherever we go and whatever we do, and just by example, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but you know, smiling and being a positive energy out there rather than a negative, that's enough. And just to encourage those simple behaviors and characteristics in each other, you know, it it makes you realize how worth it really is.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, Lisa. It's beautiful. Let's take a look. Speaking of social media, On your Facebook page, your timeline cover, which kind of embodies, in a sense, ardent lyricism. Let's take a look at that and have you share about that.
Absolutely.
Give me just a second and I will pull it up. Okay.
All right. So that image, I think that image stands out to me. Each of us own a soul and borrow the body in which we stroll. That's something that I wrote when I was 16 years old. And it always stood with me that because, again, like I said, I wasn't a spiritual or religious person growing up. Why I wrote about these things was beyond me, but the realization that we are just a body and the spirit is the part that matters, that the worldly struggle is, I guess, the most prominent thing that I would face in my entire life is that battle of spiritual and mundane. That to me sums up what ardent lyricism is. I mean, our struggle with the world and our passions and how to be both.
Yes. And we have some other images, Lisa, that you identify with and connect to your writing. So let's take a look at a few of those. Okay.
This one, I did not do the artwork on this one. I got it offline and just altered it a little bit to show the shine coming more. But this goes with the parable of the forgotten gifts. It's that light inside of us that we smother and hide, but now she's seeing it and it looks to me like she's falling in love with the light within. And that for me is the beauty of it.
Yes. Yeah, that is so beautiful. Right. Recognizing your light. That's so beautiful. All right, let's take a look at the next one, Lisa.
So this one here goes with one of my writings, mundane lives. What I see is in a lot of the world, if you do focus on some of the things that are happening, we live in our phones. We can be in a house full of people that we love and sit in our phones all in the same room. You know, we have some issues that I think that we need to look at as a society and at least change in our current families and our life situations.
Yes. All right. Let's look at the next one.
So maybe should I share mundane lives with that image or?
Let's go ahead to this one and then we'll do that one.
All right, sounds good. This is an affirmation that I wrote for myself because I was in a very negative place. I didn't see myself as others saw me. I saw myself, and still oftentimes I struggle with self-confidence and self-worth. And so this I wrote to encourage myself and say it every day. And I still do. I still do read it as an affirmation and share it with others as an affirmation because I believe that we are all that which I say. And the words I am are very important because anything that follows those are statements you're making about yourself. So,
yes, yes. And how beautiful to create your own affirmation and then to read that as like a daily practice for yourself.
yeah, I feel like that was the best way to touch my own soul is to say things, those are things that I want. Those are things that I want to be. So I think the more I read it, I realized not only am I all those things, but we all have the ability to be all of those things. So
yeah, great message. All right, Lisa, let's go back to here. And so do you want to, you mentioned a little bit about this. Do you want to give us a little setup and then we'll have you read that excerpt of your writing?
Sure. So Mundane Lives is a section from my writing project. The chapter in my writing project is called Don't Step in the dogma. Don't
Mhm.
believe everything that you told and taught simply because you were told and taught that.
Mhm.
So that basically is where mundane lives came from. You want me to go ahead and just read it?
Yes, that'll be great.
All right. Um, our world is so cluttered with the chaos of material wealth, things that hold no true meaning. Our taught mind makes the unnecessary necessary in our lives. Oftentimes, things with no real value become disposable in our world. We trade quality for quantity. Our landfills, our landfills are proof that we have been careless. They pass moments waiting with technology in their hands. Communications lack substance. The world seems to have lost its intimacy, as if it would be so bad to have a conversation with someone right in front of us. Consumed by our need to mentality, we lose sight of our truest desires. I feel a sense of emptiness knowing that I also comply. And then I have a little quote that I wrote: Monday inspiration conversations where they have depth and it's always for the purpose. We wake up every day and we go to jobs, and a lot of us we don't love our jobs, and we do our obligated life things, life commitments. But somewhere in there, I've seen that so many people, they lose what they're passionate about, the things that they enjoy doing. They forget, they had things they wanted to learn more. I've always wanted to learn to play the guitar. I've never picked up a guitar. Why why do we live mundane lives and follow suit and go to jobs that we maybe don't like? It sounds like we're living to work instead of working to live. And I think that that's something that we need to repair.
Mhm. Yes, yes, absolutely. So let's go into another one of your writings and share with us um, what that's all about.
All right. But here and now. Do not desire to set apart the yin and yang of each moment. Define your life by living each second and seeing the beauty of all that is put in your day. For a life lived out of the realization of the now is not lived at all, but perceived as a desire to become of such happiness, instead of breathing it in through your connection with all that stands before you now, to become in this moment, of this moment. Bask in the truths of the current situation. The freedom of peace with awareness becomes impossible to deny. Awakened by your inner silence and beauty, there is nothing beyond this very spot now. All we ever truly have is that, confused and caught up in what may come or has already been. Are you in a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment, the very one you're living in?
Mm.
So that for me is I realized I I'm sure many others, I spend so much time in my head thinking about things in the past and letting them affect my present moment, or worrying about things in the future and letting them affect my present moment, until I realized the past is nothing, it only exists through memory. Other than that, it's non existent. It's only existent because of your mind. And the future is only a projection of your mind, which also is non existent. The only thing that ever really is real is this present moment. And I'm spending so much of my life in yesterday or tomorrow that I forget to be here now, which this is where we create.
Mhm.
This is where we create. And if we're in fear or, sad about the past, or, we can look back at the past. That's a great thing to do because it helps us move forward. But to dwell there too long, that sometimes can create issues, Um, uh, I often just have to remind myself that the past isn't real and the future isn't real. And the only thing that's real is now, because it's so easy to go back to those two places. And then you're creating by default and you get things that you don't want in your life. And you say, like, why do I keep getting this? And it's like, because you keep doing that. Stop doing that,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Lisa, that's such great insight. So it's really like a call to the present moment and to be in that place. And then you're coming from such a beautiful space of transparency, because you're saying how, this is, almost with everything, and how these are areas that you toiled with, that really we all do. And then you're just kind of like saying, hey, okay, presenting it through your eyes, a way to stay present. And I love what you said, create, from that place, and not to miss the beauty of the moment and what's actually going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like if you can't be a part of the solution, I mean, if you're in the problem, then you can't be a part of the solution.
Mhm.
So the solution is in the present moment. What can we do now? You know?
Right, right. Yes, yes. Beautifully said, Lisa. I just wanted to go back to the excerpt that you read before, where it was, speaking of like the mundane and social media, being on our phones, and you gave a great example, like when we're at a family function or a social function, or whatever the situation might be, that we're just constantly on our phones and there's not that dialogue and communication. So recognizing that this is a part of our world, and recognizing the benefits of this technology and social media, but also other repercussions that, as you have mentioned. Um, what are your recommendations for finding a balance between that? Like, how would you advise in terms of embracing both, but not getting too carried away?
Um, I call the internet and its social media as the double-edged sword. So if used properly, you can do great things with it. I connect with people all over the world. Look at us having this beautiful conversation. This wouldn't have happened any other way, and that's amazing. Um, so many people use it for negativity and conflict, and you know, I get passions, and we all have our. When I use a social media platform or what I say, if somebody comes across, I have a conscious choice every time I put content out there. Am I benefiting people by saying this? And if not, then why do it? Why do it? Because we have the ability to help others or harm them. And so I use those platforms, and I guess the best way would be watch your content. Watch what you're doing. I watch people that I love, that love each other, arguing and fighting and controversy. And why? Why fuel it? I the way that I use social media, I go into my groups, I connect with like-minded individuals, and I share positive messages as much that I can.
Mhm.
And otherwise, put it down. And granted, I can be a zombie scroller sometimes, and end up trapped in my phone just like everybody else. All these things that I'm talking about, I have not slayed any of these dragons. They are all still mine to own, and I still battle them regularly. I'm just aware of them, and sometimes being aware of them and then still doing them makes you feel foolish, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Lisa, let's touch upon your creative process when you're actually writing. Tell us a little bit about how that unfolds for you when you get, prompted to write, what influences you, and what is actually when you're writing. Do you have like a certain way that you like to write, a certain space or place? Just tell us all about how that works for you, or is it all just variety, or how does it play out?
Awesome question. So I have a notebook with me all the time and pens with me all the time. And quite often I'll get one thing I need to write down and you know, I don't have a set time that I write, but I do visit. This might sound a little funny, and I almost wanted to do a meeting today from there. Most of my writing happens in cemeteries. So I find it, to me, it feels like the place where time stands still. It's a very quiet place, and I live in a city. So it's a place where you can find silence and beauty. There's a lot of beauty. Um, I feel energy very heavily. So a cemetery feels super peaceful to me.
Mhm.
Um, so that would be, I guess, where usually when I feel like my pen's flowing freely, I want to go to the cemetery and I'll be there sitting, and not just one. I travel cemeteries.
Mhm.
So
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I'm so glad that you shared that. What an interesting place that you really connect into. And that was so beautiful. You said that your pen is actually flowing.
yeah, a lot of the times when I'm writing and then reading back over it, I'll say, I don't even remember having those thoughts or that I wrote that. It feels almost like it's coming from somewhere else. It's just coming through me and not from me.
Mm, yes, yes.
And those are my favorite, when you can write 5 pages and then look back and say, what did I just say? And have to, look over it yourself and decipher it. It's like, this is fun. It's almost like a energy giving me some information to guide me.
Mhm, mhm. Do you ever get um, ideas or like little notions to go back into a journal? Well, first of all, do you keep your old journals? And then do you ever just feel like, you know what, that journal that maybe it was, from a long time ago, or maybe even just a month ago, do you ever go, wait a minute, there's something in there. I just kind of want to flip through it. Or do you just kind of like let those be there?
Oh no, I definitely go back and look through. I definitely do. I have I have some gifts that I'm not really clear on right now, and one of them includes I guess I would call it a mediumship ability. And I meditate regularly, and when I do, oftentimes I get messages that I know do not belong to me. And so I just jot them down in my journal and let them be until, like I said, because I believe with energy, there is no such thing as time. Sometimes I'll get a message in my journal and 6 months later I'll meet the person that it belongs to. And when I do, I almost know immediately, and the name will come back up, and I'll say, oh, I gotta look back.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
gotta look back to when that came to me in meditation and see what else is there, what came to me. Maybe they need to hear this. So uh, I I learned so much reading back over my writings at different times in my life. I see them differently. I perceive them in fresh new ways. So I absolutely do. And I have every journal from when I was 15 on, every doodle and journal, and absolutely.
Oh, wow. Lisa, before we wrap the show up, tell us a little bit about your writing, something we haven't touched upon. And then if you could share, even though you've kind of mentioned this a little bit about like the evolution of your writing, perhaps primarily within the last couple of years. How have you noticed that that has changed?
Um, let's see. I would say honestly, in the last couple of years, I've been more of a stagnant writer. I've had a little more of a writer's block. I when I do write, it seems to me, I'm, at least to my eyes, that I'm writing the same thing in a different way over and over again.
Mhm.
And I believe that's because what my message, what I write about in my journals and in my, it really is something that it's an interactive conversation that needs to be had. It's talking to people like you. It's connecting with people out in the world and talking about these subjects and seeing, what do you think about this? What is your view? How do you feel? So for me, my writings are more, they're more to prompt um, an awareness of some sort, to help somebody see something in a different way, or even to spark a conversation to help me see things in a different way, to learn and grow. So I think more over the years, and all I have to say, and more about how do I get other people to say what they have to say? How do I pull forward in other people? So my writing is more towards that now, I guess.
Mhm. That's interesting. So that's almost like a collaborative effort. Like you're almost like wanting to open up a discussion on something and to take in other people's point of view. So in other words, to kind of be like the initiator of that.
Or just, yeah, a spark in some way, because we talk about so many things that, you meet somebody, you talk about the weather, you talk about how are the kids in school, you talk about, you know, regular stuff, which I agree we all have and we all do have to have those conversations. That's great. However, what about that? What about the inner journey? What about the self realizations? I do think that that's something that we should all dive into a little bit more, and what's the best way to do that? It, I don't want to be, my goal isn't to be the one to spark everybody. It's, I want to help others spark so that they want to do the same. Let's just all light each other up. Let's just all light each other up.
Mhm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Before we wrap up the show, is there anything, Lisa, about your writing that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to share?
Um, well, I could say that I did touch, hopefully when it pulls its pages together, it will eventually be a book. Soul Shine 605. And I hate to put my procrastination out there and be really transparent, but I'm going to. So for the last 3 years, my goal has been, this year is the year I'm going to publish it. And every year you know, I put it aside and say, who wants to hear what I have to say? Who wants to hear what I have to say? Um, but coming soon will be Soul Shine 605, and that is the story of my spiritual awakening. And so in that, I share life stories, little pieces of who I am, and then I share some realizations that I've had throughout life, and then I share some poems and rants, and it might seem a little chaotic in the end, but so that is something that I'm working on.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds like a great book, a great project. So I take it the 605 is your birthday.
Yes, 605. So, like I said, that was the day of my dark night of the soul when I had that experience. And up until that year, every day, every year, that day was just a really difficult time, a really difficult day for me. So I think the Soul Shine 605 is almost my way of saying I turned it into light, or it became light. I didn't, but it became light after that point. That day now to me is important and special, and I can embrace it rather than be in fear of it. And really, it's not that day, but it is everything before that point. The darkness, my 30 years in the dark is what I call it.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we're going to be on the lookout for that book. So stay in touch with us and let us know when that's out. And Lisa, let us know how we can stay in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Um, so as of right now, all I have for Ardent Lyricism is my Facebook page, Ardent Lyricism on Facebook. I am working on a website. It is shine-605.com. I am a alternative healing practitioner, and I will be sharing a daily blog once I get up and running. I hand make items, handmade for healing, wood crystal grids and dream catchers and smudge fans for smudging rituals. So that will be on there. So all of these projects that I'm working on will be on soulshine-605.com. But as of right now, just ardent lyricism on Facebook. And if you follow me there, I'll be able to keep you up to date on everything else.
Yeah.
I look forward to staying in touch with you, Leslie Sue. This was a great opportunity for me, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been amazing to connect with you, and you have lots of interesting developments. I love all the areas that your website process is going to cover, and you sharing your deep insights and your thoughts, and I really appreciate your transparency as well, and your courage to to come on here and to share with us. And it was a beautiful experience, and so we applaud you, and yeah, absolutely do stay in touch with us, and best wishes for everything.
Love and light to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa.
Have a good one.
Thank you everybody for watching Art and Talk today. Thank you for being with us, and we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.